You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe, and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Hey, this is Dick from Lone Star Community Radio. We have a big announcement for Lone Star Community Radio and our listeners. We have partnered with another TV station. That's right, you will be seeing Lone Star Community Radio content on KVQT, Channel 12 in the Houston area. Now is a great time to start a show or sponsor a show with Lone Star Community Radio. For more information on everything that is happening, visit us online at irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776 and leave a message. And we want to also wish everyone a safe and happy Thanksgiving.
Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
And welcome to the Ticket Stub, the movie podcast here every Thursday at noon o'clock. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're probably wondering why I'm introing the show. It's because I'm in charge today. And Connor is out, but Chris and I are in the studio ready to talk movies.
We're going to do our best without him.
Yeah, I think the show is looking good. I'm just kidding. Connor will be back next week. Again, thank you for joining us. This is the Montgomery County movie podcast / show. We're live every Thursday at noon o'clock on irlonestar.com worldwide. There is an app you can download for your phone. And then also we podcast this and YouTube us, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, whatever. Subscribe to us and, dig it. It's right there. So welcome. We got a lot to talk about. A lot of stuff's going on in the movie world. And I, for once, saw the movie I said I was going to see for this show. I watched Children of the Corn, pleasantly surprised by it. And I really think Stephen King, it's so funny that he's not known as, he should be a screenwriter. Because his short stories and movies are so crazy, and 9 times out of 10 they get translated to film, and he hates it. Yep. So I'm like, dude, just commit to doing the screenwriting, and don't let people take your work and make it good. Because Children of the Corn got me interested. I was like, I wonder what the real short story is about, and the real short story about really even creepier. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. We'll talk about that later. Chris, what did you see?
Well, I think like most of America, I just binge watched
Stranger Things. I don't even
2.
talk about it.
I'm not. And of course the World Series, so we're still excited about.
So you didn't see any movies, or you're trying to tell me?
I didn't.
Oh man, that sucks. So pulling out your butt, dude.
I will. I got it. VHS 2.
That movie came out. That's a real movie.
Yeah.
I know VHS came out.
Well, there's like 3 or 4 of them.
Oh jeez, I didn't know that. Scary movies all over the place.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little about that. We are going to talk a little bit about the sexual harassment stuff that's been going around town.
Always an exciting topic.
They keep adding the hit list, and so it's going to be interesting to see who is next. I wonder if there's like a Las Vegas poll or pool or something.
There should be. We can put it on Twitter.
Who do you think is next?
Pick like 5.
Win 2 tickets to the grand.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be horrible.
Yeah.
But no, that does remind me, we do give away 2 tickets to the grand every week on our social media. So that's Twitter and Facebook. So make sure to follow and subscribe on those things to win 2 tickets to the Grand Theater in Conroe. There's some exciting movies coming out. We got Constant Bombardment from Justice League, and also I think this weekend. And I want to kind of talk about this. Let's open with this.
Sure.
The Oriental Express is coming out, I think, in 2 weeks.
Yes.
I'm really confused by the trailer. I don't know if you've seen the trailer. I encourage everyone to check it out. And if you've read the book, it's more of a murder mystery, but the trailer makes it sound like it's an action film almost. It's really strange.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that movie does.
You know what I'm talking about? Have you seen the trailer for it?
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
And like they try to they have dun 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 dun, make it very suspenseful, and it shows the action scenes, which there's probably one because the train something happens on the train. But I was sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, I wonder why they're doing it like this. It has a huge cast list.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it has Johnny Depp in it, which everyone hates Johnny Depp. But no, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
What?
I was going to agree.
Well, he's such an odd guy. I feel like he still hasn't found his footing in movies. Because if you take his entire catalog, he's certainly like a character actor, but then when he tries to do anything outside of a character, it bombs like horribly. And well, there are some character movies that he did. He did the Pink Panther, didn't he? Something like that.
I don't think so. No, well, he was with.
Do I have any idea what I'm talking
I'm
about?
not sure.
I mean,
he was with Tim Burton for a long time, so I don't know if that partnership is over or not.
Well, I again, it's kind of like Daniel Day-Lewis. Like, he's only working when he wants to work, and he only works, every 2 years or something like that. Maybe Johnny Depp should learn from that. Like, let's just wait till the right roles, because I think the Pirates really had a good idea, but then they just kept falling apart. Each movie they kept coming out with.
Yeah.
And then that kind of threw him. I bet he has a. I also hear he's a weird guy, so imagine
Yeah.
his monthly bills are for weird things. But
Well, I think there was some report that he was spending $2 million a month or something on something. I can't remember. I know that's terrible. I didn't have the information before that wind up. But
yeah,
spending a lot of money on something.
yeah, he's doing something.
Yeah.
But for the box office, for the weekend box office and stuff, Halloween's over. There's still, I imagine for the next couple of weeks, Halloween movies will still, or the horror movies will still be around. But for this weekend, the theaters apparently made over $60 million across like the United States. Number one only made $16,000 out of Jigsaw, which is kind of surprising.
16 million? Yeah.
16 million, sorry. And then number two was Tyler Perry, Boo 2, and Medea Halloween. I forgot Tyler Perry's still making those movies.
I did see that one, actually.
You did?
I did, yeah.
What, just for fun? Are you a fan of Tyler Perry?
No, I'm not.
So why did you see it?
Well, it's a Halloween movie, and I like Halloween stuff.
That's true. Was it really true? I mean, because it's number two, so I never. Did you see number one?
I did.
Whoa, wait a second. There's a backstory to this.
Oh, no, there's no. It's just, something to do in the morning.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's great. And then number three, surprisingly enough, was Geostorm. And then number four, Happy Death Day. And number five, Blade Runner 2049. It's funny. I was reading this article about Blade Runner 2049, and everyone was like, don't pay attention to the lack of success in the box office. This is one of those movies that's going to be a cult movie in 20 years. And I think it's going to be really weird to see what becomes a cult movie. In the future, because cult movies, especially like the interesting age was like when DVDs were so inexpensive to print,
Yeah.
opposed to VHSs. That's when the cult movie came back. Like, people had access to movies that I never see. Like, it's like my example when I was growing up would be Boondock Saints.
Oh, yeah.
Boondock Saints
yeah.
was one of those films like in the theater no one talked about, but then when the DVD came out, it was one of those deals that you shared it on the internet. You can buy the DVD for $5. Like, it was really inexpensive to access that movie. And so, of course, that's when the cult thing grew and grew. It's the same thing with, like, Donnie Darko. Same idea. Didn't do that well, but through word of mouth and the ease of access, I'll be interested to see what's the new digital one to become a cult movie.
Well, my cult movie was Redneck Zombies.
I mean, was that really legitimately?
But it didn't come out in theaters.
But I mean, was it popular enough to where the DVD sales went way
well,
up?
everybody I knew saw it.
Really?
Yeah.
I never heard of it.
But I was in Mississippi at that time, so the redneck angle was kind of.
It was big. It was
big. It was big.
But Blade Runner 2 with the name and Harrison Ford, I don't know, because that was like during Harrison Ford's kind of, how big is he at that time? Because I think he just finished Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and then Blade Runner was somewhere in between. I might be wrong on the timeline.
Yeah.
But that's because I saw Blade Runner when I watched it. I thought it was really cool, but some of the stuff was just kind of like, I have more questions than answers when I'm watching the movie. Plus, there's always like 20 different versions of it, so it's really hard to see which one's the good one. Because I know there's a good one in all the director's cuts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the weekend's chart. So the movie Geostorm, I'm really surprised it made any money. I heard it was awful, and also bad timing. All these hurricanes and stuff. It's like, man, like, you really want to say that the government's controlling all this horrible stuff? And but yeah. And do you think? All right, moving on. Do you think they're going to make a movie about the Astros?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because if Hollywood can learn anything from the World Series, it's that they need to use that as a model for making movies. I mean, a great movie, you connect with the characters.
Yeah.
You're invested in the characters emotionally. The Astros had that for sure. Great story arcs. I mean, I thought I was gonna have a heart attack like 6 times.
Oh, yeah.
Over these 7 games, and Game 5 was crazy. I mean, they should make a movie about Game 5 for sure. I think, but yeah, I mean, you're invested in the characters, great story arcs, and a nice happy ending. So I think they should.
Well, I mean, I think it's.
You talking about like a Moneyball kind of deal, or?
I don't really know. Because you look at that kind of storyline, and you either focus on an individual or you focus on the team. But in my mind, it didn't really. I'd rather make a movie about the Cubs than the Astros. Or you make
just for the
well, I mean, it has
100 years.
Yeah, like it has a good, like, you can go in the history of the Cubs and like the almost and like who played. But then again, like Moneyball was interesting because they were able to get Brad Pitt in it, and that's what kind of attracted people. And you had to explain to people the fundamentals of baseball, which is kind of hard to do. And it did okay. It didn't really go into too much in depth about the stats. That's why I threw Jonah Hill in there. Because clearly he explained it really well, and like it was kind of one of those pseudosciences kind of thing. Yeah, just listen to you're good. Just move on. Yeah. And but I don't know. That's what I was thinking about that afterwards, because the dude proposed to his girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
And then they're of course they're excited about going on, but
and the right after the hurricane, and it's a good rebound for the city. Nice little present for the city after that.
Yeah, I mean that's something I don't think because we were talking about this on another podcast earlier about the new sports movies, like what are going to be the next sports movies, and I don't know because you were looking at the lifetime of a professional athlete. Major athletes right now is like Mayweather. Well, I don't want to make a movie about Floyd Mayweather. He's kind of a dick, so it's like why would we want to make a movie about him? And then other successful, like Tiger Woods, no one wants to make a movie about him because you can imagine the prologue, or is it right? The prologue at the end.
Oh,
it's the text, and it's like,
the
Tiger went on to hook up with a lot of women and ruin his entire career. That'd be a great little end text right there.
They'd have to find an older sports figure that has a finished story, I think. Hopefully Tiger's not done. I'm a big Tiger Woods fan.
Yeah, but
I hope he rebounds.
You can't have a movie about him and not somehow touch on the scandal he went through.
In the middle. I mean, hopefully he'll come back and win a bunch of major tournaments. And
no, he's through. He's got back problems.
I know he does. I know. I got my fingers crossed, though.
I don't know any other story, though. Like, there's really nothing.
Well, he was on TV when he was a little kid hitting golf
balls.
balls.
He had the perfect story.
Yeah, he did.
But then the movie, if you did biopic of him, like, you got to include it.
Well, who would play Tiger Woods?
Probably Jamie Foxx. He plays everybody in the biopics.
Okay.
So, no, I'm just kidding. I would not. I would not say that. But speaking of cast lists, we got to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about The Lion King.
Yeah.
Their new live action. They're turning all the Disney movies into live action, and then we're going to kind of segue into touch. I know you probably don't want to talk about this, but there's been reports about big production companies controlling what theaters can show. Mm-hmm. And it's coming out for Star Wars, and then there was been a report about Godzilla, about how long they required theaters to have it in the theater for at least 5 weeks.
Oh, okay.
And even though Godzilla kind of sucked, but it was good. You're listening to Ticket Stub here on irlonestar.com. Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. We're going to take our first break, but we'll be back shortly after this.
Is that all you got?
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776.
Hispanic Chamber Connections with Dr. Carlos Sanchez, President of the Woodlands Conroe Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, featuring event announcements, member highlights, and more. Tuesdays at 1 p.m., broadcasting from the heart of Conroe, Texas on irlonestar.com and Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
This is not a drill.
That's right. This isn't a drill. We're back with the Ticket Stub. Thanks for joining us. This is a live show, folks. Noon o'clock every Thursday. Connor is in the studio. We got Chris of the Grand Theater, our co-host, with us. And you know, it's funny, Chris. We got to add you to the graphics now.
Okay.
I
great.
think I got to figure out how to do it, though. I think we're just gonna add your face.
Just my face.
Just your face. Just be like Dick and Connor face. I think it's gonna work out really well. But I know we talked about in the segue. We're gonna talk about some Disney. Disney's doing a little live action movies. A lot like they're turning their Beauty and the Beast was one, and then I know the Jungle Book was one, and then the Jungle Book. You know, it's really strange. It's like I don't know. I wish some movie Hollywood person could explain it to me. It's like, hey, what's going to be a good momentum of movies? And like the Jungle Book was one, but then they released like 3 Jungle Books within the year of each other, and like they're doing the same thing with Winston Churchill, and then I think Hoover's going to be one. I think Woody Harrelson's doing Hoover.
LBJ.
Yeah. But
that comes out tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, he's been doing a bunch of press stuff. I'm not interested in seeing that movie. Like, I'm really not.
Well, Bryan Cranston did it on the HBO, and he was
that's what it was.
Phenomenal.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
hey, what's going to be the fad for 8 months? What we need to keep talking about? It's like, oh, let's do Winston Churchill. Well, who are we going to get? Like, I don't know. That's crazy to me. That it always coincides with each other. They coincide. It's almost like two buddies on the opposite end of the street think they're better than each other. And like, hey, you're gonna make an LBJ movie. I'm gonna make an LBJ movie, and then what happens is you get Justice League, which sucks, and then you get the Avengers, which is average. So
yeah, no, that is very.
Thor
true.
comes out this weekend.
It does. It comes out
does.
tonight.
That's
We
gonna
got
be.
We got it tonight.
I'm kind of interested in it.
It looks fun, and the running time's a little bit better than.
What is it?
It's like 2:15, I think.
That's not bad.
No. So
Kids are gonna be able to stay awake, hopefully, during that.
it's not a 3-hour Batman versus Superman, so that's good.
I mean, I see. Okay, what we were talking about earlier, though, when we did the segue, let's get back to what we got.
Okay.
We got to fulfill
Got
what
it,
we say.
got it.
Lion King, the cast has been released. It's coming out in summer 2019. I believe John Favreau is going to be directing it. He's directed the Jungle Book, right?
John Favreau.
Favreau, that's how you announce it. There you go. And then, hey, there's some people walking by. Just want to say hi to them. But the list has been released, and it's pretty interesting. Probably the most interesting one out of all of them would be Donald Glover as Simba.
Yeah, he's having a good year.
Well, I've read a little bit about him, and he seems like a depressed dude, and he seems to have like the way he talks about himself and his career. Mm-hmm. He seems to have zero self-confidence.
Well, he just won 2 or 3 Emmys.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like he goes, I don't know if I want to be in this industry. He had a lot of questionable things. Like, he's publicly saying these things.
Yeah.
And I wonder who had the conversation with him about working for Disney. Because I feel like if you work for Disney, you got to have that attitude, that clean cut. Like, you can't screw up for the next year.
Yeah.
We're putting you in our family. Our family guarantees you X amount of dollars. You know, it's like it's a good family to be in. And I don't know. I was like, man, they chose this guy. I wonder how he's emotionally going up and down, up and down. Yeah. So that's an odd choice.
I mean, it is. Are they motion capturing this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's a little more work than voiceover. Then.
Yes, and I don't know if they're going to be the motion capture people. I don't know. Because if you remember The Lion King, 0 humans are in the movie. Now, the Jungle Book, there's some humans in it. Mm-hmm. So you did have to actually have actors on screen. So I'm interested, and I'm also interested. They did James Earl Jones as Mufasa.
Yeah,
I bet you anything he's not even going to go to work. They're just going to use the voice. I mean, like, you think they're going to change it up a little bit?
I can't imagine him in a motion capture.
Because remember, I was talking about Aladdin because they're doing a live action Aladdin.
Yeah,
and I was like, and the genie's going to be totally CGI, and Will Smith is the genie. I was like, they should have just taken all the lines from Robin Williams and just did it, even though he passed away. I mean, you really can't beat that role. And, of course, I think they realized we can't have anyone but James Earl Jones be Mufasa.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what I'm looking at is Seth Rogen is also in there. If you look at the entire cast, there's one guy that's kind of out of place in this cast.
Billy Eichner?
Well, I was going to say Seth Rogen. Yeah, but Billy Eichner from that show, Billy on the Street. He's really funny on that show.
I see. Wait, the issue you're running into doing these remakes is they're always going to get compared to the originals. Mm-hmm. And Nathan Lane, as Pumbaa,
he was Timon.
Is he Timon?
Yeah, and Ernie Sabella was.
They had good
Pumbaa.
chemistry.
Yeah,
I don't really know anybody that has good chemistry with Seth Rogen unless they're like stoners.
Yeah,
So I'm going to be really interested to see.
Well, Nathan Lane and Ernie Sabella would do. They did a lot of Broadway
Well,
theater together.
Yeah, and
So-
I think that's what makes it work. But see here, what's going to happen? This is my forethought about Seth Rogen. He's such I'm trying to think. His stoner attitude really bleeds over in other movies.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like Pumbaa is lazy, but he's also a goofball, but he's also lighthearted. And I don't know if you can get that from Seth Rogen. I don't really know, because they try to do that, like, in Knocked Up and stuff. But he's a stoner, so they can't have Pumbaa be a stoner in this movie.
Well, see, I thought the same thing about Stranger Things too, and I'm not going to give anything away, but Paul Reiser's in it, and the comedian, and who's on that show Mad About You.
He plays a doctor.
Yeah, he plays the doctor. I've never liked anything he's done, ever. But I loved him in this. I loved him, and I am
Interesting.
not a fan. And so it's just great directing. Like, I think good directors can mold the actors into what they need.
Yeah, well, I that's what I'm saying. But the problem is they're being compared to an already phenomenal cast,
Yeah.
and especially performances between Timon and Pumbaa. Like that was, I mean, they made their reason probably why they made all the sequels, because they were featured in all the sequels and stuff. So, I mean, looking at that, I don't really know, like Azizi, who was that in the Lions Club, like in the Lion King.
I have no idea.
Like I don't remember who that is, and that's played by Eric Andre, the comedian.
Yeah. Keegan Michael Key is Kamari. I don't know who that is either, but he's funny.
And who I didn't notice is, are those the hyenas? You think?
Yeah, they might be.
You think those are the?
I think so, because that's the only thing missing off this list.
Well, in the original, didn't Whoopi Goldberg play? She played Shinzi, so Shinzi is the hyena, and that's played by Florence. So I think those are the three hyenas.
Okay.
So there you go. I never knew their name. They didn't even say their names in the movie.
It's been so long.
Yeah,
since I've seen
that's
that. I don't
crazy.
know.
And John Oliver is Zazu.
Yeah, that's neat.
That's the pelican.
Yeah, I think that wasn't that Rowan Atkinson the first time, Mr. Bean?
Yes. That's really crazy how you remember that.
It was.
It sounds. I did not know it was him, but
Okay.
That's pretty interesting. But I think this movie is summer 2009. Would you go see it? I didn't see The Lion King.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
With that cast, I think it'd be good. Chiwetel Ejiofor is in it. He's Scar. He's a good actor.
No, he is a method actor. Every time I see him, I know he's pretty dedicated to his craft. I think the hits are going to be the main characters, like Beyonce. She has a soft voice. I can see that doing it. Of course, James Earl Jones, Donald Glover. I think that's going to be good. But the one that is going to be a miss, I bet, is Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner. I think that's good. They did not get Broadway. They needed to get Broadway people to do that, because those two iconic roles, you got to have a lot of life in them. And Seth Rogen, to me, doesn't have a lot of life in him if you don't see him on screen.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do with that. Moving on. Speaking of Disney, I didn't know this. I know Chris doesn't really have to say anything about this, but I didn't realize theaters really have to placate to people like Disney and Fox when they show their movies. It's really interesting. There's a report coming out, like Star Wars The Last Jedi, that they're making like secret terms about who gets what money for the first X amount of days, and then also how long people have to do this, because in the past, I remember the only time I've ever heard about something like this was the fiasco Quentin Tarantino faced with not Crazy Eight, the Hateful Eight, and Star Wars. When The Force Awakens came out, there was a report that there was a theater, I believe it was it's called like the Dome. It was either in California or something, and basically, when The Hateful Eight came out, it was released in its special format that Quentin Tarantino likes, and there was only like 12 theaters, and the Dome was one of them. And somehow the Dome forgot they made a deal with Disney about they're only showing The Force Awakens on these days. Like, it's like that's all they're doing. And so I think there was like either they're going to sue them, or like, because Quentin Tarantino was really upset about it, basically.
Yeah.
That they weren't showing his movie, that they were kind of promoting to go see it in this format. So the studios really do have a lot of power. Well, basically what's coming down is The Last Jedi is changing the game because it's such a big movie.
It is, yeah.
And so to give you an idea of what they're doing, they're requiring theaters that are big, like, they have 24 screens and all that kind of stuff. They're basically saying you have to show this on your 6 biggest screens you have for 8 weeks or 5 weeks.
Right.
And there's no flexibility with that. Like, they won't let you have the movie. And if you don't do it, they take 5%, like I think either per smaller screen you're showing it on, and you lose that money.
Well, I mean, Disney's a great company, and they make great movies. And I think every theater owner would be very happy to show those movies on all of their big screens, especially in a year like this where there's not a lot of huge hits out there. We should probably still have Justice League by that point. But other than that, I don't know of any really huge movies that will be around at that time. So, because nobody really wants to go up against Star Wars, unless you're a horror movie or something like that.
And also, I didn't know really there was like an agreement between studios and the ticket sales. So, for example, this all starts. Disney will receive around 65% of the ticket revenue from the film. Apparently, that's one of the highest revenue deals ever done with studio and box offices. And they're also requiring the theaters to show at their largest auditorium for at least 4 weeks. And then if a theater ignores it, the penalty is an additional 5% cut, bringing almost to 70-75%, depending on what theater. Each theater has a deal, which is pretty crazy because I know this is important to theaters to make some money. And
it is. Yeah.
And of course, Star Wars is going to be a good long-running film for a theater, but I don't know in the future what's really why they're choosing to do this. My guess is studios like Disney have put so much money into these types of movies, they need to make X amount back. Like it's do or die. And luckily for them, they made a smart choice in buying all Lucasfilms. Because if you think about Lucasfilms, they guarantee an audience.
Yeah.
And you really, the only thing you're really going to do to hurt yourself is something real stupid. Kind of like The Matrix. Yeah. And so that is an example. But only thing they have to be afraid of is being too successful, which is great because they benefited from it greatly because they're building the whole theme park, they're doing all the toys, they're doing the video games. I mean, it's insane, their long-term project. And now what's going to happen is they're going to take this project and they're going to basically repurpose it for Indiana Jones. And they're going to repurpose it for another Lucasfilm, whatever else they own. What else do they own? They had Indiana Jones and Star Wars. Was there a third one? I know they got the Duck. Was it what's that Marvel Howard the Duck?
Oh, they did?
I think they got Howard the Duck.
Oh, awesome.
Which was actually in the Marvel movie Guardians of the Galaxy.
I heard that.
Yeah, he's at the very end and he's talking to Benicio del Toro's character. But I mean that's why they have to do this because they know they can and they know they can squeeze out every single dollar for this movie. I'm pretty interested in that. And plus, they probably know that MoviePass is doing crazy stuff.
Yes, quite possibly, yeah.
Which reminds me, we got to take a break. It is the bottom of the hour. You're listening to the Ticket Stub. Chris Appel is my co-host today. Connor's out, unfortunately. When we come back, we're going to talk about the movie Children of the Corn that I saw, and then we're going to talk about a little bit of terms of service that MoviePass is secretly putting in every time you sign on. So I think the $9 deal is kind of realizing it's not a good deal. Because you got those hardcore people who love living in the theater.
Oh, and the Hollywood harassment scandal.
Oh, yeah. We still got to talk. We can talk about that for like a couple weeks, too. So you're listening to the Ticket Stub. Thanks for joining us. We still got about half an hour left. So stick around here on Lone Star Community Radio.
Attention movie lovers, the Ticket Stub is a new radio show servicing Montgomery County that is meant for you. The Ticket Stub is available live every Thursday at noon on FM 104.5 and 106.1, as well as anytime on OurLoneStar.com. Connor and Dick will let you know what's coming out in the theater, what is worth streaming, and what's going on in the world of film. The Ticket Stub, your home for movie talk.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app for your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That is Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
And we're back here on the Ticket Stub. Here every Thursday live at noon o'clock. Connor's not here, but Chris is, and we're going to be talking some Children of the Corn, some sexual harassment, and some movie pass. So we still got a good half hour here.
Yeah, good lineup.
So you saw Medea, Boo Spook 2 or whatever.
Yeah. A Medea, Boo 2. Is what
Boo
it's called.
2.
Boo 2.
Okay. I have no idea about any of these movies. I didn't even see a trailer for the other one. So kind of give me a gist of, like, was it good? Was it rentable? Is it, if you're part of the, because this is part of the universe, right? Medea is a universe, right?
I think it is, yeah. Yeah.
It's like, because he dresses up, Tyler Perry dresses up as the grandma, Medea.
Yes.
And then there's, like, this different genres of Medea.
Yeah, it's Medea.
Medea, sorry.
I think it's Medea.
don't know.
I'll get confused. No, but yeah, in the movie, it is what it is. It's a Medea Halloween movie, so it's Boo 2. If you saw the first one, it's pretty much the same deal. They just kind of rehash it the second time. But the plot is, I guess the granddaughter wants to go to this Halloween party out on some, like, Camp Crystal Lake-ish place where there's serial killers and stuff. And Medea doesn't want her to go, so Medea and the whole gang goes out there to try to save her.
I mean,
it sounds great, doesn't it?
weird. Yeah, that's a weird.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, there's one character I like, Hattie. She's like the older friend of the grandparents, and she's very funny. I can't remember the actress's name, but she's very, very funny. But it's one of those movies that's it's worth seeing. I'm grasping here.
You sure you're saying this is your guilty pleasure?
Well, I like stuff to do with Halloween, so I will pretty much watch anything that
Okay.
has Halloween anywhere in the deal.
Okay.
I wouldn't say this is my favorite, or even in the top 20 of Halloween movies, but we still got it in the theater. And if you're a big fan of Medea, I think you would really enjoy this. I've never been a huge fan, but I think people that are fans would love it.
Interesting. I'm probably never going to see it. Or maybe if it's on Netflix. Maybe. I saw Children of the Corn for the first time.
Okay.
1984.
It's a good classic. Yeah.
And it's a Stephen King short story. So that was, they kind of put Stephen King's Children of the Corn on the title. I mean, there had been a big deal, like, I don't know how to put it, but I wasn't really there when Stephen King became Stephen King. Because I know there's a lot of funny stuff with him. He's kind of a kooky guy. Like, I was told that to prove that his name sells so much and he's not a successful, like, no one respects his writing, he wrote as a second, like, a different artist.
Yes, he did.
Or a different writer,
Yep.
basically. And
I think everybody found out about it.
Well, later.
Yeah.
Well, no, he didn't sell anything, basically.
Yeah.
Children of the Corn, though, I will say, when I first started the movie, it's funny because it feels like an 80s budget film. Mm-hmm. Because there's not a lot of music, there's not a lot of dialogue, and the actors, you could totally see they're kind of winging it a little bit. You can tell there's some hesitation in, like, the direction. So, like, for example, a lot of, like, one of probably the hardest shots in Hollywood or making a movie is putting the camera right at the door and having the person, right when they open the door, they see the camera and they kind of, like, look around.
Yeah.
And it happens several times in the movie. And because you have kids, and, like, the storyline is about, basically, the opening scene was so cool. Because I had no idea. I had no idea what Children of the Corn was. Didn't have any idea. All I knew was it was a horror film, and it involved kids being evil. But the opening scene is basically they're in a diner, and you start seeing kids being really creepy, and then all of a sudden people start choking, and then they come in with like sickles and knives, and they start killing everybody. And this little kid who wasn't part of the program watches his father be murdered, hatched it. Yeah, like, I was like, man, this movie's serious. And of course, early 80s special effects, it wasn't nearly as gory what it is today. Like, I think when they cut his throat, it was like painted on, like, it's like silly gory. But still, the idea was really messed up. I was like, man, that's crazy. And then basically after that scene, it basically becomes the typical visiting strangers driving on the road, they get stranded, and then they're getting attacked, ideally.
So did the children live in the corn?
Well, see,
like in the cornfield?
What it is the cornfield, there's a demon in the cornfield.
Okay.
Basically. And I'm trying to think on top of my head what they called him. It's like the one behind the corn rows or something like that. The he who follows in the corn rows or something like that. It's a demon. And basically there is a messiah in the movie, and he plays it's Isaac, and he's the actor who plays him. The creepiest thing what they did casting this kid, his name is John Franklin. He looks like a little adult. So when he was being evil, he wore like the Amish clothing, like he has a big round black hat.
Right.
Like he looked evil because he had. I don't know how to describe it. You gotta see it in the movie. Like he kind of had the features of an older person, but in this little body. And then Malachi, who's his like right hand man, he's Courtney Gaines. You've probably seen him in other movies. He's a redhead, but
So does this take place in an Amish community?
no, this takes place in a small town, made up town,
Okay.
in like Nebraska or something like that.
Okay.
And basically, the next scene you see is you have Linda Hamilton and Peter Horton. They're driving. He's a doctor, and they're driving somewhere because he has a whatever doctors do when they graduate, and it's like their next step in their career. And somehow, I'm not kidding. This is when a movie went from good to great. So there's a scene where a kid tries to escape the community, the little cult, basically.
Yeah.
And because only kids live in this town now because they murdered all the adults. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Well, anyway, again, the 80s special effects hits you again. He runs over this kid. And it's one of those scenes where they zoom in on the car, zoom in on the kid, zoom in on the car, zoom in on the kid. And the reason the kid was in the middle of the street because he was running from the corn and somebody stabbed him in the corn. So he was like, he had blood all over him. He was like, kind of like limping in the middle of the road. And they, boom, hit this guy, they hit this kid, and the kid flies up in the air. And I'm sitting there like, whoa, they actually showed that. And that's when the movie starts. Like, basically, the kids are trying to capture the adults and sacrifice them to the corn. And overall, I would say the storyline, what's even better in the short story, is that Stephen King likes to involve sex, likes to involve creepy scenarios. So basically, these kids, if you hit 18, they sacrifice you because you can only be 18. Now, the reason they chose 18, it used to be 20. And every time they disobeyed the one who behind the cornrows, is they deduct a year. And like it became like they had when you hit 18, you had to do the sacrifice of fertilization, so the kids would continue having kids.
Okay.
And so like I'm saying, like they created this little nook. I don't know, they didn't really tell you how long they've been there, and so it's kind of creepy, But that was on the short story, not in this movie. This movie was very friendly for a movie audience. Had no idea. They didn't really go into the creepiness of like what they could have done. But they actually remade the movie for TV, Sci-Fi Channel, in 2007.
Okay.
So apparently that's more true to the short story.
Well, I think there's like, what is there, 4?
Well, yeah,
feature
there's
films, I
canon
think?
films
Yeah.
that. But what's really cool about this movie is they do own up to like the demon's real, and it's really crazy. The ending's pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. But I will say, as a horror movie, I like this kind of movie because it's not jump scare. They try to do it, but it's so poorly made. Or so, like amateurly made, I guess. I'm talking like early 80s scary movies that the blood looks real fake.
Yeah.
And it's like someone just got a bucket and poured it on them. And I like that because I don't have to get so invested. Like, it's not real. I don't like scary movies.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend it for a movie buff because it kind of teaches you what not to do. But it has more funny moments in it. And then the Isaac character, Linda Hamilton's in it. That was surprising to me. And I think this is way before her Terminator days.
So, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate it?
I think I would give it as like a movie person. I would give it like a 6 or 7.
Okay.
But I think for historical sake, I would give it a higher number, just because it's a good movie to see how they made it back in the day. Mm-hmm. Because it was interesting to see how they did the cornfield shots and the little story they had. How they extended it to be a full movie length, because really, if you did it by scenes, it'd be like a 30-minute movie, because it literally has they hit the kid, they're being chased, and then in the end they find out what's going on, and then because what's really cool, spoiler alert, in the short story, the main actors die, the main characters, the wife gets sacrificed, and then the one behind the cornrows gets the Peter Horton character. He gets him like in the field, and so like the last scene you see is the two on scarecrows. Like,
Do you ever see the demon?
No, it's like a breath of fire. Like it's like it's pretty crazy. So I would check it out. That's the Children of the Corn. Look at that. Well, we can kind of start talking about it now, switching topics. Those are the movies we saw. Movies coming out. I haven't really seen anything I particularly want to see besides Thor. So that might be a goal of mine to check that out. And then I really want to see Cloud Atlas because that's on Netflix. And I saw a couple jokes about that. So apparently that movie is a little crazy. So I'm going to check that movie out for the next episode for Thursday. But moving on to different topics. Well, actually, what movie do you want to see?
I'm going to try. I watched VHS, so I want to watch VHS 2. And maybe,
Okay.
Check that out for the next.
All right. I've never seen the first one, so I have no idea. That's going to be pretty
It's
interesting.
a found footage series of movies. You know I love found footage.
Yeah, I know. It's just,
I'm kind of painting
it's
myself
a great way
into
to
like a little corner.
Do you have your own found footage? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
God, this concept.
Yeah.
It's been done a couple times. But, I mean, that's funny. Let's start switching topics because we only have a couple more minutes left in this until the next break. We have been taught, the news has been consumed by the sexual harassment being claimed on famous people.
Yeah.
Really what I want to kind of talk about, and we'll take a break after we say what we want to talk about, is I want to see how it's going to affect the Hollywood, especially with the Oscars coming up, especially with, Kevin Spacey had a bunch of movies coming out that were going to be Oscar contenders, and now what do you do as a company who owns those movies? He's like kind of like Netflix announced, since his little announcement, like his thing, they're gonna basically, I don't know if they're even gonna release the next season of House of Cards because they've already filmed.
Wow.
I know they canceled
Right.
the next season, but they said they were already gonna do it, but you don't really know
I
about
think
that.
they got to.
Well, as I was saying, like as Hollywood, how do you clean up Hollywood and keep people going to the movies? Because when we come back, I want to ask the audience a question: would you go see a movie if Kevin Spacey was in it? Kind of thing. We'll be back.
Cool.
You're listening to morning. Oh, I almost did my morning show. Boom. Ticket Stub podcast. That's right. We're here every noon o'clock on Thursdays. We'll be back.
Repeat.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show. With monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Hey guys, I'm Joey Savage.
Corey DLG.
We are Nerd Thug Radio. Catch us every Monday from 1 to 3 and check out our website, nerdthugradio.com.
We like to talk about quilting, horseback riding, and baking quiche.
Actually, we don't, but we do like talking nerdy to you.
That's right. Every Monday from 1 to 3 p.m., hashtag talking nerdy to you.
And we're back. Ticket Stub podcast. It's our last segment here. We're going to cover a little bit of the Harvey Weinstein scandals. Keep coming back, but we're really going to try to focus on what do we think the industry is going to do. And especially talk about, what are they going to do to basically control the fire? And then how does this discourage people from being actors, actresses? And I don't think they're going to clean themselves up. I think in the last week, Kevin Spacey has been questionable. I loved his response. If you saw it, look it up. It's kind of funny. And the next person, I think they announced Brett Ratner, the director, got called out.
Yep.
And then
Dustin
Hoffman got called out, which is a big deal. That guy, it's been very influential in 40 years. The first thing I would like to focus on is, like, for example, the Ben Affleck deal came out. I remember that was just a tweet, and I thought that was really weird that somebody would just say on Twitter nonchalantly, "Oh, remember that time you touched my breast, Ben Affleck?" And then that drove this whole story about Ben Affleck. But he has that Justice League movie coming out. So if you are a studio, you just already paid everybody, movies are already made, what do? You just wish for the best? Or do you just say, Ben Affleck, I think you would hurt it more if he came out saying he's not going to be part of the franchise anymore. But I don't really know, especially like the Kevin Spacey deal. Kevin Spacey, he had an interesting remark about it. And now his movies are coming out. He's got like 3 movies coming out soon.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Yeah, with the Ben Affleck thing, I think they would just roll with it through Justice League. It's too close to the film's opening. If it hurts it, I don't think it would hurt it by that much. I don't think that folks are out there not going to watch Justice League because he, has the Buttman title now.
Well, I mean, I'm surprised, again, with that franchise, why they don't have a Batman movie. I think that's the reason a lot of people don't connect with it. Because, like, with Suicide Squad was the next big movie that came out after Batman vs. Superman. And, again, nothing really tied everything together. You didn't really see the standalone story. Why do I care about these characters? That's outside of the Buttman thing. But other folks, it's going to keep coming out. And the thing that worries me is what people judge over the course of time. And it's funny now, people are saying this is outrageous, this kind of behavior is not tolerated, especially with the Harvey Weinstein, but clearly he's been doing that behavior and it's been accepted on both parties. Like, because I bet there are some people out there who did take his advances in hopes of their career would be advanced. And so it's you kind of have to look at it where what legal repercussions are there, and then we know this industry thrives on this kind of behavior. That's how things get made there. That's why Harvey Weinstein was in control of winning Oscars, because he either had the jokes that he bought the Oscars, he put you in a movie, and he's a creepo. Like, that was kind of like the known thing among the Hollywood people. I didn't really know about it because I don't really pay attention to like page 6 of the paper and like the TMZs and stuff like that. But it's kind of strange that everyone had an understanding that you just don't talk about it, because what I think is going to happen is it hurts the industry.
Yeah, I mean, that's the disappointing thing about it, especially with the Kevin Spacey thing. There were people coming out and saying, well, we knew that he did that for years. I mean, and I'm a huge Kevin Spacey fan. He's one of my favorite actors, and I'm disheartened by what I'm hearing, but it sounds like, he had a difficult childhood. Not that that excuses anything. It certainly doesn't. But, but the fact that nobody would say anything, I mean, in us as a society today, we all have a responsibility, to speak up when, kids are in danger. And these were, some underage kids that it happened to, and some adults as well. And first of all, you should never put your kid in a situation like that. But you've got people who know about it have to say something. And I don't know why there's been this silence for, what was this, 1986? I think? We're looking 30 years, 30 years.
It's strange because, like, on another side of the industry is the Corey Feldman thing, where he's trying to literally raise money to make a movie about what happened. I don't know if it's like a documentary. I'm not really sure the details, but it's strange. This industry just thrives on this stuff, and this guy's looking to raise $10 million so he can name names. Get out of here.
They'll be out on Twitter tomorrow. So he's going to lose that deal. He better go ahead and spill the beans.
That's what I was really curious when I saw that, because he has been a proponent, spoken out about this for a while. But he won't name names because he's afraid of his life. But you can look at the history, go on Google, look him up. He's been talking about it for a while, for like 15 years or something like that. And it's just it's going to be interesting. It's hurting the industry. And there's that famous thing Barbara Walters told him: "You're hurting this industry by doing what you're doing." And people think she's kind of shallow for saying that. But in the end, there's so many people involved, and you don't really know how the public's going to handle it. It's interesting. This is the year the public controls the media. It controls the NFL. It controls. People are getting their little roots shaken up. Like, how are we going to make our money? What's going to happen?
Well, see, what I'm hoping is there's so many actors that get taken out by this that I actually have a shot.
As an actor?
I have a shot.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah. That sounds like a good deal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done anything like that. So.
Well, especially with the repercussions, you're getting people, and it's so weird. Like, for example, the Kevin Spacey deal, if no one knows what goes about it, here's the cliff notes. Basically, this actor who's now a successful actor, he's in Star Trek Discovery, he basically came out and basically said that Kevin Spacey made advances on him when he was 14. Well, Kevin Spacey's responses was so bizarre. It was basically down the line of, that was 30 years ago. I can't excuse my drunkenly behavior back in the day. I'm sorry if anyone was hurt for that behavior. Oh, by the way, I'm gay. Yeah. Like, he literally does that 180 on you. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, is he basically accepting that he did it, or is he saying that he doesn't really remember? Because that's one thing I've not noticed is no one's really sticking up for themselves, because there are going to be some people trying to claim this, because it's a crapshoot today. Like, you can just say anyone, and for 24 hours news cycle, you're screwed. That dude, you've been labeled, man. And
well, the only reason I can think of why they don't is because they know that they've
well,
done
that's
this
like the
many,
Harvey
many
Weinstein
times.
thing. The Harvey Weinstein thing.
Yeah.
He disappeared.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I got to go into treatment. And I'm like, really, this is how you're going to deal with this? Is like, now you have to go. And we were talking about this on the other show. Is like, can you imagine the treatment facility? Like, what are they going to do? Like, what? I don't think. You know what I'm talking about? Like, it's kind of like, imagine being Harvey Weinstein walking through the door and be like, all right, treat me, guys. And I don't know, that kind of behavior doesn't. I mean, it's such a
It'd
weird.
be a good Dr. Phil episode.
It's a weird thing. Yeah, shoot. Well, that's one thing I always argued about this kind of stuff. Is it's strange that no one's talking about the proper way to handle yourself in this situation, because the industry thrives on this kind of behavior. But how do you properly do it instead of going on a tweet saying, "Hey, Ben Affleck, remember that time 20 years ago you did that? I do," and like that's it. Like that's all you get from that story, and you're like, man, it's kind of. I don't know. Like, I feel like there should be some type of encouragement and a proper way to handle scenarios like this. I watched a documentary about pedophilia in Hollywood, and basically this kid, I can't think of the name right now, but this kid went on his own when he was like, he's been a victim for like 3 years as manager. So it was from like when he was 10 to 14 or something like that. And basically he had the gall to realize that he doesn't want to he doesn't want to be an actor, doesn't want to do this stuff anymore because of this guy, and he on his own recorded himself talking to this guy, talking about the stuff they do to each other. Wow. And because he goes, I don't know if my parents would believe me. It's one of those things that's like, I don't want to do this anymore, and I understand what's happening. I don't want to be an actor. I don't want to be a singer anymore. And then the parents were just like, I can't believe we let this guy in our house, because he was his manager, and he was in some movies and in some commercials and that kind of stuff. So there was success happening. So they thought it was a good relationship, and then this happened. And I'm like, how do you properly? And this kid, in my mind, did the proper thing, and this guy's in jail because of like what he recorded on. He has a little tape recorder and put it in his pocket, and just recorded the conversation in the car. But I think that's ending today's show. That's what I mean. The industry is going to hurt no matter what. But it also needs to be a voice of encouraging what to do. Yeah. Would you say?
I would say definitely speak up. Definitely, if even in normal society, speak up and say something.
He doesn't have to be a CEO or something. I mean, people can't get away with that kind of stuff.
You really need to. Sometimes it's the only kind of protection that anybody has.
Well, you're listening to Ticket Stub. Chris, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Connor will be back next week with us, so stick around for that. Don't forget, we give away a pair of tickets to the Grand Theater here in Conroe on our social media. So you need to go immediately to our Twitter, Ticket Stub Podcast, or Facebook, Ticket Stub Podcast. Like us, follow us, and then we'll be basically announcing the question or something like that, a way you can participate in the show and win 2 tickets. So stick around. We got great stuff coming up here on Lone Star Community Radio, but the Ticket Stub will be back next Thursday.
Thanks for checking out this podcast of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. If you enjoyed this recording, make sure to check out our past shows online at irlonestar.com or their respective video or podcast formats on YouTube, Google Play, or iTunes. If you have any questions regarding the show, either it being about sponsorships or questions for the host, contact the station manager at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776. This show was recorded in downtown Conroe, Texas at the Lone Star Community Radio Studios, and Lone Star Community Radio reserves all rights to this recording and images.